Hey everyone, welcome to this channel, and in this video we will dive deep into the usage of var, let and const. By the end of this video you will have a clear understanding. Let's go to the screen. Starting with why you need to understand the var, let and const and why they matter. So JavaScript offers three ways to declare variables, that is var, let and const, and knowing their difference is crucial because it helps us writing clean and predictable code, and it actually avoids the bugs in real world applications and also in answering interview questions confidently. So because a lot of time either practical or theoretical questions are being asked related to this topic. Now going next to the overview of variable declaration. So var was actually introduced in ES5, so it is the oldest among the three, and it is actually function scoped. You need to keep this in mind. But let and const, both of them are introduced in the ES6 and they both are block scoped. So we have already differentiated them in this matter that var is going to be the function scoped, but let and const are going to be the block scoped. And also let and const between them. So const, take this from the name itself, that it is immutable reference. You cannot change it again and again. So this is just the overview. We will dive deep in. Now going next to the scoping differences. So function versus block scope. So var is the scope, its scope is the nearest function. Here we have an example. We have one function. Inside this function we have this if true x is equals to 10. So and above this, like here is the if condition and it is one block. So even though the x we write inside this block, still it was accessible above the block. So it was accessible in the parent function, which is the example. So when we write console.log x, so we are still able to access that x, even though it is not in this function, it is in the child block, still we are going to access this. So this is the term that we call it as function scope. So it just takes the reference of the function. It doesn't matter like it's in a block or it's outside the block. It will just take its parent function and it is function scoped. But in case of let and const, what happen? So if we write true and let and const, we write both of them and we give them the value and we try to access them like outside this block. So when we try it, we get an error that is not defined because that their access was limited to that block only and they were like block scope, not the function scope. So this is one of the main thing that you should keep in mind, that the var is the function scoped, whereas let and const, both of them are nearest block scoped. Going to the next one is the hoisting behavior. So the var is hoisted and initialized as undefined. So hoisting is basically when we run the program, first it just interprets, and then when it starts running, so var is actually hoisted to the top and it is initialized as undefined, and later when we come to that line where it is actually declared with some value, at that time the value gets filled to that undefined and the undefined gets replaced with that value. But still if we try to access that like a is the variable, you can see in this example, we try to access it before even we actually like initialize or declare it. So we get the undefined because it is hoisted, it is declared with var. So at the beginning stage, when the when the whole code runs line by line, so it the program knows already that okay, there will be a variable with a, and it just fills it with undefined. So when the when the program actually starts running, when it goes to this line, it is undefined. But in case of let and const, this doesn't happen. They are also hoisted, but they are not initialized with the undefined. So even when in the case of let and const, we try to use them same as the variable, same as the var, so we will get the error that we are trying to access something that is even not initialized yet. So we will get this error, cannot access b before initialization. But in case of var, we get it as undefined even though it is not there. So even for both of them, it was like the same, we are trying to access them before they are initialized or declared, but still it gives the different output. In case of var, we are getting undefined, whereas in case of let and const, we get it as the error. And this zone, the zone in case of let and const, because they are hosted but they are not initialized, they are not filled with the undefined value. So zone is called the temporal dead zone, because in case we try to use them in this zone, we will ultimately get the error. Going next to the redeclaration and reassignment. Now, in case of var, it allows redeclaration and even reassignment. You can see in this example, we have this variable x with the value of 10, and again we just write it and we give it the value of 20, and there is no error. Instead it will just be 20. And if we try to reassign it, so we don't initialize it but we reassign it with the 30, then it will just reassign. But in case of let and const, it happens differently. In case of let, we can no redeclaration in the same scope. We cannot redeclare it and reassignment allowed. So in the same scope, we cannot do it. Here you can see we have one let y is equals to 10. And if we try to use redeclare it again, if we try to redeclare let y is equals to 20, we will get the error that it is already declared. But if it's a different block, if it's a different separate block, then it will give no error because it's a different block. But if we do it in the same block, it will give us error that it is already been defined. And also, like in case we want to reassign it, it is all completely allowed. We cannot redeclare it, but we can definitely reassign the value of let. And this is mainly the difference between let and const, the major difference, that in case of const, what happens is that we cannot redeclare or reassign it altogether, because since it is const, so it is a constant value. So declaration, if we try to redeclare it, we will just get the same error that it is already declared. And if we try to reassign it, then we also see that it is a const, but you are trying to reassign it, which is not possible. Now going to the next thing, that is the best practice that you can follow in case of the usage of all the three. So you need to use the const by default unless you need to reassign. Try to avoid var as much as possible, because being function scoped, it actually creates large chances that you will get the error. And use let when reassignment is required. Avoid var in modern JavaScript due to its quirk. So there was a reason because of which let and const were introduced in ES6, and because with usage of var, it just puts us in some certain situation where it's very hard to debug. Emphasize constant let usage to show your understanding to modern ES6 standards. And if you are clear with the concept of all these three, you will have a very good understanding, and in interview questions also you can actually emphasize on it. Very common interview questions that could be asked from you. The thing is that explain the difference. So you can just very briefly explain the difference, that var is the function scope, let and const are the block scoped. Var is hoisted and it is given the undefined value, but let and const are also hoisted, but they are not given such value, and they give the temporal dead zone. They just eventually goes to that. What is the temporal dead zone? So you can just give the answer that it is the zone. It is actually the zone of starting of the script till the part where it is initialized, where letter or const are initialized. So it is that zone. And if you try to access them before they are initialized, in that case we get this temporal dead zone. And which declaration you should use for constants and why? That is const, because in case of const we cannot redeclare it or we cannot reassign it. And how block scope works with let and const, it is very easy. You can just show it with the example that we have already seen. Now here we have one real life example. So you can see here we have the tax rate. There is a fixed value, so we will preferably use const for it. Then we have this let, that is a variable value, and then we are using this scope. So here we have the scope, and inside this scope what we are doing is that we are creating this variable with let. So it is block scope, and then we are changing the value of total. So we are doing what we are changing the value, and from the discount we are reducing the discount value. So the discount was 10, the total earlier was 100, so it will go inside it that if the value is less than greater than 50, so it will definitely goes inside the scope, and the discount is 10. So then total will be reassigned. The total will be reassigned with the it will just deduct this 100 with the deduct with 10, so it will become 90. And then here when we try to console.log total, so because it was we used let for it, so it will eventually get changed. Its value will then become 90. So we already seen that var is the function scoped. It is hoisted with undefined, and it is preferred to avoid it in the modern JS syntax. Let is block scoped and hoisted, but it is uninitialized, and it also allows the reassignment. We can reassign it with any value. Const is also block scoped, hoisted, but again uninitialized like let, and it is immutable reference that we cannot reassign it again. And it is preferable to use let and const instead of var for safer and cleaner code. So this is it for this video. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel, and thank you for watching.